We're going to speak today about a shir that we entitled Roll Up Your Sleeves for Mitzvahs, right? And essentially we're going to talk about why a person would want to have hand matzahs. Why a person would want to have hand ground flour for the matzahs, which is called Rechaim Shel Yad, which is an interesting thing because do you normally find rabbinic figures in your life going around with their sleeves up? Usually see that that's like a normal thing, like rabbi sleeves up. So why did we entitle today's shir, Rolling Up Your Sleeves for Mitzvahs? That's not usually something that we see. So if we want to try to be like the rabbis, we don't usually see the rabbis with their sleeves up. So why are we talking about rolling up our sleeves for mitzvahs? So let's begin. There was a great tzaddik named Rav Steinman, Zecher Tzaddik V'Kodesh Levracha, and he would deal with everything for the Jewish people. He was one of the great Rosh Yeshivas and essentially the educator of the Jewish people. And he helped with families and family life, and there were people that came to him asking about ways to have shalom bayis. So one of the things that is well known is that when a person folds their tallis, anybody heard this before? When you fold your tallis properly on Motzi Shabbos, after Shabbos, you take your tallis, you don't just throw it or squish it up. You put it nicely, and then comes Motzi Shabbos, you fold your tallis for Shabbos nicely, and then next Shabbos, when you open up your Shabbos tallis bag, it's all nice. So there's a segula to fold your tallis right after Shabbos. Right away, right after Shabbos, fold your tallis for Shabbos. Yes?
Can you not fold it right after Shabbos?
No, because it's a type of malacha, you don't want to fold on the lines. You could fold it a little bit, but not exactly perfect. So you place it nicely, and then afterwards, after Shabbos, then you really make it crispy and nice. Yes, Zevi?
You said to fold it nicely for the next Shabbat, but if you're married, you're using it every day for Sunday.
So many people have a custom to have a special Shabbos tallis. That being said, even if it was your weekday tallis, you should never leave your tallis unfolded overnight without getting into the reasons. There's certain Kabbalistic energies that find their way into the unfolded folds of the tallis. And you don't want that, when you get there the next morning, put it on, you got like hitchhikers on your tallis. So there's such a thing of just shaking off the tallis, but you don't want to even have that in the first place. You want to make sure your tallis nicely fold. So he came to Rav Steinman, he said, Rebbe, I want to make sure, Shalom Bayis, right? I should make sure to roll up my tallis right after Shabbos. He said, I've got a better segula, a better idea for good Shalom Bayis is right after Shabbos is done, roll up your sleeves and help your wife with the dishes from Shabbos. It's also a good one, right? Roll up your sleeves, schwitz a little bit. There's a very well-known idea brought down from the Arizal, that the Arizal says that anybody who rolls up their sleeves, that's a borrowed term, who is matriach, he works hard, and he's even mezia, he schwitzes in the making of the matzahs. He's working, and he's getting into it, and he's leibedek. He will have a cleansing of anything that's happened to him that year, and maybe even from way, way back, maybe even from previous reincarnations, of things that have been problematic in certain areas of, let's say, boy meets girl. So if you really schwitz, and you really get involved in the mitzvah, not only that, the Arizal mentions this also with regards to making and getting ready for Shabbos. Let's say you're a very rich man and you have 100 servants that can do all of your Shabbos preparation. Should you let them all do the Shabbos preparation? They could do it for me. I could sit in the base medrash. I can do other stuff. Why should I go and sponge on my floor? Why should I shine my shoes? Let them do it. Let my 100 servants do it for me. I should go and get involved and do it? The Gemara teaches us that not only is it a good idea, but look at the following great rabbis, that they themselves worked and prepared, rolled up their sleeves, got involved in the preparation for Shabbos. And the Shulchan Aruch brings this as a Jewish halacha. Ki Rav Chizda haye mechate chayorik dak dak. Rav Chizda, the great Amoira, he would go and he'd be the one, it's called Julietting. Like, Julietting, is that the type of cut, right? Like finely slicing the vegetables to make sure, you know, when you have a salad, it's like coarse cut, looks like a bit like peasant. You have somebody who cut it mamish nicely. So he would get involved in the kitchen, roll up the sleeves, cut it nicely. You see a nice looking salad come out. L'chavit Shabbos Kodesh. What about Rabba and Rabbi Yosef? They were mavak and eitzim. They would go and chop the wood. You need to have warmth over Shabbos. They'd put wood in before Shabbos. Anybody ever chopped wood over here? Yeah. Romeo, you chop some wood? Yeah. I used to chop wood back in the day. I'm happy to do it today. I just don't have a wood block and any wood to chop, but if I did, I would. But you know what I'm saying? Gains. You get gains and you get schwitzy very fast when you're chopping wood. How quick until you're up to a sweat by chopping wood? It is pretty immediate. It is hard work. An axe and the wood, it's a whole thing. He made sure that he did it himself. Rav Zera Haya Madlika Aish. He'd make sure to light up the fire, get a little bit sometimes dirty, get involved in making sure the fire was lit before Shabbos. Reb Nachman Misaken Abayis. Reb Nachman would go and clean the house. Umachnes kelim atzrichen l'Shabbos umafane kleachol. And he would take away the weekday vessels, put them away in the cupboard, in the dishwasher, wherever, and he would bring out the Shabbos stuff. You've got servants that can do that for you. No. L'kavod Shabbos Kodesh, I want to do it myself. They made sure to schwitz, to mamish get involved, to roll up their sleeves for mitzvahs. The Gemara says an amazing thing, that there were great Tanayim, that this is not only when we talk about doing something for Shabbos, not only like we mentioned, sweating for matzah, that the Arizal taught us, it fixes all sorts of things. This comes up in other places. One of the reasons is we have a general idea that mitzvah ba yosim b'shlucha. Anybody know what that means? Mitzvah ba yosim b'shlucha. Doing the mitzvah yourself, what's better, yourself or somebody else? Better yourself. There's such a concept, better yourself. Better yourself, that you're the one that's doing it. The halachic commentators extend this idea. It doesn't only mean that particular mitzvah, that it's better to do it, but there's something about you being involved in a mitzvah. Not only because it's better that you than your shaliach, but there's something intrinsically good with you doing it. For example, if you make a bris milah, or you make a wedding, should you let the waiters serve the food, or should you maybe try to help out? So the Gemara says a story in Kedushin, that the Tanayim were at a wedding of Rav Gamliel, and Rav Gamliel was coming around and making sure everyone had what to drink. He's the Gadol Ador. He's the Gadol Ador. The Nasi, Mamish. The Nasi, the prince of the generation, is coming over and filling up. He's schwitzing in the mitzvah. His event, fine. Hachnas Orchim, yeah, but you can pay a waiter to do it. Why do you have to go over? Why is he rolling up his sleeves? Like Avram. Okay, very good. Avram Avinu. He also had a lot of servants. Why didn't he just have everybody else doing things? He's the one running and preparing all the stuff. So we see there's something fundamental here, that the rabbis, when it comes to doing a mitzvah, I didn't tell you mitzvahs like putting on tefillin. I told you mitzvahs that seemingly other people could do, but these were rabbis that wanted to do them themselves. You could go and buy matzahs, but the rabbis always wanted to bake matzahs, and they wanted to schwitz in the matzahs. You know where our dear Rosh Yeshiva is right now, Rav Berkowitz? He's cleaning his house for a month before Pesach. Himself.
With a toothbrush.
a toothbrush and a toothpick. Literally going, schwitzing for the mitzvahs. So I want to explain in the 2 minutes that we have, I want to zoom out now, give you guys a bit of a Hasidic concept, and then with this concept, we're going to zoom back in and you're going to see how all the questions become answered based on this idea. You ready? So in summary, we said, the Arizal explained to us that when a person sweats, when he does matzahs, when he bakes matzahs, he purifies things that happen between boy meets girl. And we see that the rabbis themselves were very involved with they themselves doing the mitzvahs. So what's really going on? So my friends, Hashem gave us a soul. But I'll tell you something. He gave us 2 souls. He gave you a godly soul. And you know what your godly soul is made up of? Pure desire to be close to God, undiluted will, love, compassion, desire to be close to Hashem, to do the mitzvahs, to be kind, to be a powerful and loving member of the Jewish people. All it wants is to be involved in good things. It's the deepest intuition of who you are. That's your godly soul. But by the way, God gave you another soul. You know what that other soul is called? Your animal soul. Your animal soul is, like the name implies, the part of you that's a bit more animalistic. That's essentially your instinctual side. The instincts that are the animalistic instincts. The instincts that say, yeah, honk the horn a lot at that guy, because he literally has been stopped at the red light for 0.1 seconds. And he deserves to be, he deserved that. Yeah. The animal soul is the part of you that sabotages your well-being. It's the part of you that gets you to binge on 10 pints of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. The animal soul is the part of you that makes you angry, that makes you impatient, that hijacks your well-being, that essentially is animalistic, which is survival of the fittest, which is eat, procreate, but without using the intuition of the godly soul. It hijacks you and it makes you run after things that don't make you feel happy about yourself. Why do we keep doing the things that make us disrespect ourselves? Why do we keep going to the same clubs and looking at the same websites that we don't want to do that? The answer is because God gave you an animal soul that's pulling you in that direction. So the animal soul, when it goes, and let's say, give me an example of something the animal soul would do, make it, yeshiva level, Oh, okay, those are both good. Sleep in because the night before you were looking at the eye candy you shouldn't have listened, you'd be looking at, okay? Now, the only problem is, do you know who also got pulled into that experience? Was it only the animal soul? The animal soul said, look at that, No, the godly soul got pulled down. Just like if a glove goes and does something, does the hand underneath also get pulled into something? Yeah. The godly soul is the inner part of you. The animal soul is drawing a person. So the animal soul gets a bit contaminated when it gets pulled after not good things. How do you fix the animal soul? You listen to the voice of the godly soul. The godly soul, if the godly soul pulls the animal soul to good things, then you can clean up the animal soul. Your godly soul is good. It's so good. It's so pure. It's the animal soul that needs a bit of work, a bit of polishing up. Where is the animal soul the most integrated? In your body. Gains in the body. Yes.
So can we eventually get the animal soul clean too?
Absolutely. But do you know how you clean up the animal soul? You got to take the animal soul, you got to put the animal soul and say, I got this. And you have to pull the animal soul into mitzvahs. Not mitzvahs that are like, there's an expression out there like blah. Yeah, I put on tefillin. Did the guy look at the eye candy like, yeah, whatever? Or was he pumped up about it? The more that the animal soul was activated from whatever he did that wasn't so, PG yeshiva level, the more that he needs to take the same animal soul, but engage it in mitzvahs. We have a concept in Hilchos Kashrus, in the laws of kosher items, which is the same way that something becomes impure. For example, if you have a pot and the pot was cooked, let's say they boiled some juicy, notorious PIG juice in there, okay? And it was just juicy liquids in there. So and now you want to buy this pot, or you want to kosher this pot. How do you kosher the pot? So can you just put it in cold water? Because the hot, juicy liquids entered into the pot through hot liquid. So how would you have to extract the impurity? Boil it in hot liquid. That's not juicy, notorious PIG juice. You have to boil it in non-juicy, notorious PIG water. Okay? And that will extract out the impurity. So the same way that it went in, you have to pull it out. What if, though, the pot was put into an oven or put over a fire? Aish! How are you going to pull out the notorious PIG that it was fired in there? It was heat. It went in stronger. Is it enough to just put it in hot water? Or do you need to pull out this is not a chainsaw, it's a flamethrower. You need to pull out the flamethrower, call the Chabad Chevra over, mamish flamethrow that stuff. You better believe it. Because if the impure stuff went in through fire, which is called libun, which is even higher, then you need to pull it out with fire. So, my friends, now back to us. If a person got excited, his animal soul got excited about things, which means that some type of notorious PIG kind of went in there, whether it was looking at something he shouldn't have looked at, or whether it was letting the body run the show, just sleeping, or he was watching something and a guy gets excited, he's watching some Super Bowl commercial, he's like, whoa! And it wasn't so appropriate. Is he getting warmed up there? Whoa! Did you see that? He's like, yeah, bro, you're sweating. Like, you okay? He's like, that was unbelievable. So he's warmed up. So how are you going to pull out the residue that got in there from getting warmed up from the wrong things, my dear friends? You got to sweat it out. You got to get warmed up from the right things. Are you hopping what we're saying here, Rabbi Yisai? You got to get warmed up for the right things. Now you could understand what the Arizal meant, that when he said that there's such a thing that, okay, we're being very open and mature here, that what is the thing that warms the person up the most? Boy meets girl, but in the wrong way. It's the entire body is warmed up from that. So the Arizal says, if you want to fix that, you have to warm yourself up. You have to pull up your sleeves, warm yourself up to a tremendous degree, to the same degree. Like we said, just like by koshering a vessel, to the same degree. So if a guy was very warmed up on the not the good side, he has to very warm his physical body up again now for mitzvahs. And now you see why the tzaddikim themselves made a big thing that they themselves would do physical mitzvahs. Even though they could have had servants doing it, they themselves wanted to warm themselves up and pull out any of the impurities that would have been there. And therefore, we see a lot of this theme around Pesach. Pesach is the beginning of the new you. It's the beginning of a total fresh start. So everything around Pesach is like work. You probably sweat more during this time of the year in a Jewish home. There's more schwitzing going on and rolling up sleeves than the whole rest of the year combined. People are cleaning the house. People are doing matzahs, fire everywhere. It's very warm. It's a very, very warm thing. And I'll tell you another way to do it that exists the entire year. We have a concept that, remember we said, if something goes into hot water, it could pull something out that went into hot liquid of treif. The tzaddikim said that generally refers to all the kind of sweating, like literally liquid sweat. But if you want to get to Aish, if you want to get to the highest level of Aish, so Hashem says, through the words of the prophet, Haloi koi devarai Aish. Are my words not fire? I.e., the words of Torah. Torah is Aish. So the sweating that you're doing is going to pull things out on one level. But remember, when you sweat through Torah, so you ever notice like rabbis, like we don't like speak like this? So the Jewish law is the following. Everything is like why is he so excited? Why is everybody in the base measure shuckling and moving? I never went to Oxford, library and saw people learning calculus and like moving like this and jumping around. It's generally, you saw that, Zevi? I never saw such a thing. One of the reasons is because why do we shuckle like this? Because you ever seen a flame? Fire. It's all fire. When a Jew is davening, when a Jew is learning, we're literally firing ourselves, blowtorching out any impurities. So that's how we physically get our bodies involved. And I want to tell you something else. And we'll end with this, my friends. The prophet Eish says that Adam la'amal yulad. Adam la'amal yulad, that a man was created to toil. Toiling is the state of the Adam, of the human being. That's why we're put in this world. So, the Gemara teaches us that you could either sweat and toil in two ways. Either you sweat and toil with all of the things that need to be done in this world, and you're always getting calls about this appointment and this thing, and you're just so, you've got so much toiling. You've always got to go to this thing and this job and this interview, and it's just, you're so busy. Or you could toil in the world of Torah and mitzvahs. And a person who accepts that world of toil, he doesn't need to toil as much in all the bureaucratic stuff of this world. The more that you accept, you say, you're here to toil. That's the reality of man. There's no free rides in this world. You got to schwitz. Got to roll up your sleeves somehow in this world. You could choose now. Am I going to toil in Torah and mitzvahs and explain what we just did today, which is that I could purify out all of those impurities? Or am I going to toil in going to this appointment and for this job and getting to this job and just like I got to deal with this bill and that thing? Like all that toil, you got to toil in this world. So now it's the opportunity for you to choose. So in summary, my dear friends, we said that we don't usually see our rabbis with our sleeves pulled up, and all of a sudden comes certain times of the year, and everyone's sleeves are pulled up, and everyone is doing mitzvahs, and everyone's sweating. And we said that Arizal explained that if you sweat during the matzahs, that you could purify the things of boy meets girl. And we said all the Amoraim were doing all these tremendous mitzvahs themselves, seemingly that they should have been done through their servants. And we said, why is that? Why are they doing it themselves? And we said that even Reb Gamliel, the Nasi, is going around pouring people drinks at the wedding of his children. Why was he doing that? And then we took a zoom out and we explained the Hasidic concept. It's really an entire concept in machshava of the godly soul and the animal soul. And the godly soul is always trying to bring you towards mitzvahs. But the animal soul gets caught up with stuff in this world. And it gets what's called blias. It brings a bit of impurity into the folds of the animal. And that stuff is stuck there until you could pull it out. And just like when you kasher an item, a vessel, you need to use the same thing. The way that the impurity went in, you got to pull it out in the same way. So if it went in through hot water, you need to bring out hot tears. You have to pull it out. You need to pull it out. But if it went in through fire, you need to blowtorch that stuff out. You got to warm yourself up. The more warm you get, the more you'll fix the things that you got warm for other reasons. And then we said that the whole reason why a person is here in this world is Adam la'amal yulad, is to work and to schwitz, and lefum tzara agra. And this is really the reason why, in answering the first question, why do Jews want to have hand matzahs? Why are we into rechaim shal yad? Of course, people that are of age, is because the more that we're involved in the mitzvah, the more purification is happening. That's why we're into handmade things. The more that the human being is in the experience, AI is a tool, but it could never substitute the soul. The soul is something else. And we want to be fired up and purify. We're at any place along the journey, our bodies became filled with impurity. So my dear friends, roll up your sleeves for mitzvahs. Schwitz. Get involved, like we say. And the more you can be involved, the better. The more you can be involved, the better. You want to come over to my house and help Mamish scrub? You let me know. Scrubbing and schwitzing. We get ready for Sukkot season. We have some of the champions that have been over for Sukkot. Come, build, schwitz. The more you could be involved, the better. And that's going to purify you to such a tremendous level. And you're going to see that the animal soul will become so refined and so purified that it will want to do the will of the godly soul. And that's going to be the ultimate union that we're so excited for. And the ultimate experience where even the animal is pulling you towards mitzvahs because it's become so pure and it's so in line with the will of the godly soul. And with that, we're going to see the great return of Mashiach. We're going to see right over there, this Pesach, the Siyata Deshmaya, the bringing of the Paschal Lamb, the Korban Pesach, and all the Jews from the four corners of the world to return back to Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh with the Binyan HaShlishi, the Beis Tifartenu, B'mehera V'yameinu, Amen.